Hour 3, the final of the week here on OverDrive. You're listening on TSN 1050, watching on TSN 2. What type of music are we playing? Someone blowing into a microphone? Not the best selection, in my personal opinion. I recommended Spoon Man earlier. We did play that. Soundgarden, that's an all-time track. We got some Tate McRae in there as well. Al's brother, you got to get a request in before
all right.
Final hour is
I'll
over.
Figure it out. I'll figure out a request.
Yeah, we're gonna work on that.
Maybe ahead of CJ?
Yes, exactly.
Possibly.
CJ Miles will join us at 6:30. Martin Biron up in about 4 minutes. It's Mail It In Friday here on OverDrive, brought to you by Boston Pizza, Canada's favorite sports bar. From tip-offs to tie bites and puck drops to pizza, BP's elite lineup of apps, wings, and ice-cold beer is always dialed in for game time. Hustle into your local BP tonight. The O-Dog did not mail it in last night. Now, he is on vacation, parts unknown, maybe in Florida. I think pretty sure he's down in Florida.
Somewhere we could tee it, I'm sure.
Yeah, he is playing a ton of golf. He is spending a lot of time on the course and by the pool, as was evidenced by the clip that he sent in, because we remember ahead of the trade deadline spectacular here at TSN, the O-Dog won the quiz belt, right? And there was a marching band. Doug Gilmour was there to present it to him. That
segment's got to win awards. Like it was great. I was howling on my couch watching the game when that happened, and like I felt so good for O-Dog. The smile on his face when Dougie gave him the belt. Yeah, like I felt good about it. So.
We've all worked with the O-Dog for a long time, a very long time. Noodles, you more so than us, and I can't recall him being as happy as in that moment when Dougie Gilmour came out from behind and handed him the belt. Like it was true joy. Yeah. It was a beautiful thing to see.
It was a moving moment. I mean, yes, there's been lots of moments with O that have been, funny, spontaneous. There was a traumatic one where he had the sandwich lodged in his throat. I had to give him the Heimlich. That was a traumatic one. There's been so many different ones. Now, watching that one, that was exciting. I felt good for him. I feel like, with him, he didn't know that was coming. So that's what was exciting. It caught him off guard. That was raw emotion. That's what we saw from him.
Well, what happened last night during the quiz caught me off guard, and I'm sure everybody else watching. Here is the video that O-Dog sent in live from somewhere in Florida with regards to the quiz belt, which he seems to have taken down south.
Greetings from Tampa, Jimmy, fellow panelists, the quiz master, Lenny the cameraman, if that's your name. You might be wondering why I have this luggage. It's no luggage. In here I have the quiz belt. They're calling me the keeper of the quiz belt. Philip Pritchard said I can keep the belt for 10 days. So nobody can win it until I get back. Life is great. Keep on celebrating the win.
So good, man. So good. That is excellent content right there. Great.
Of course,
stuff.
tarp on in the pool.
He should have went tarp off. Like just show off that chiseled physique that he's been working towards for all these months.
Yeah, honestly.
It's coming. I think a year from now you might see tarp off in the pool. Like it's a work in progress. He's never admitted numbers, but he said, he was upset about a number that he didn't like when he first started training, and then he said it's been coming, and it's been a slow burn. And you know what? He looks good. Saw him live. You guys saw him live the other day in studio. We were all there, and it's coming. So good for him. And he does look, what do you say, sunny Tampa? So there he is.
Down in Tampa.
I didn't realize that, I thought Tampa wasn't a sports city, apparently, according to Hayes, though. Have you ever heard that argument? He thinks that Tampa's not a sports city.
I was down there. I was down there over the weekend, actually. I guess I left the day before O arrived. And, I was there for the Lightning's thrashing of the Philadelphia Flyers. That 7-0 win.
It's a great sports city, though, isn't it?
Well, just the people rolling to the rink in, shorts and a T-shirt. You can understand why, certain pay cuts were taken by players in the Lightning. Tom Brady, should I go play in Tampa? Yeah, I think that's a pretty decent idea. Not the worst idea I've ever heard. Let's head to the phone lines where I welcome in TSN hockey analyst, good friend of this radio show. It's Martin Biron back on OverDrive. Good evening, Marty. How are we doing?
Doing great. I was just in Tampa with the Sabres 2 weeks ago, And I'll tell you this, like, we had a Sabres fan gathering the night before the game. It was 350 people at the American Social there on the water, and I didn't want to leave. It was awesome. So great sports down in Tampa.
Oh, I love American Social. What a spot that is.
Well, that's joined to the Westin, isn't it, right there?
Yeah, it is. We've had a few team meal on the water there, and I won't say names, but one year somebody bet somebody that they couldn't swim across the canal, so it got late, and the swim is a lot longer than you may think it is.
It always is. It always is. Marty, speaking of the Buffalo Sabres, we were having this conversation in the previous hour about whether or not this team could actually make that push to the playoffs. They've got themselves to within 3 points. They got a couple of games extra played, however. But, like, what would you handicap the odds of the Sabres, the way that they're playing right now, and getting into the playoffs?
Well, what was great about this week is you were playing the teams, and you still are, because tomorrow the Sabres are in Detroit, that you need to beat to get in the chase. And they start the week 7 points back. They beat Detroit Tuesday. They beat the Islanders last night, and now they're 3 points back. They could be 1 point back of both Detroit and the Islanders if the Sabres win and if the Senators beat the Island, tomorrow afternoon. So is it a dream still? Yeah, I mean, I would say there's probably a 10 to 20% they get in. And just because it's not just the Sabres now, it's Washington, it's Pittsburgh, it's the Devils. Because the Detroit Red Wings have been so stinky in the last 7 games that it's allowed everybody to get back in. If Detroit had won or played for 500 in the last 7, and Tampa, they're Tampa. They're going to get in. I think even the Islanders would be struggling to get in, but now the Red Wings have been so bad that it's allowed everybody to get close and believe it.
Marty, talk about UPL. Like, what has been the difference for the Buffalo Sabres? Like, with them playing so well recently, is it, are you getting timely scorings? Have you gotten the goaltending? Like, what has been the secret mix for Buffalo to make this surge and be right on the cusp of the playoffs?
I actually think Luukkonen is the MVP in Buffalo, and it's not just of recent. It started about mid-December, but if you look at the numbers that he's put up since January 1st, and since we switched over to 2024, he's number 1 in goals against average in the league, number 1 in save percentage, number 3 in wins. He's in the top 3 in goal save above expectations. So these are great numbers. And the biggest difference for me is Luukkonen used to chase the game a lot. He's tall. He's 6'4", close to 6'4.5". He's a big goaltender, but he was getting himself so far out of the net and so far out of his crease that often he would bite on a fake and all of a sudden they had to tap in. Now he's much more under control, but he still has that quickness and the confidence to play. He's just a totally different goaltender. And I've said it a long time to a lot of people. I'm like, I'm still not sure on Luukkonen. I'm still not sure on Luukkonen up until maybe, a month and a half ago. And then, you watch practice and you watch the games and you realize, oh, he's different. I wasn't sure on him the way he was playing before, but I think Mike Bills in Buffalo, the goalie coach, assistant coach of the Sabres, has done a fantastic job to just bring him in a little bit more. But also the fact that he's playing a lot. Like, they don't have 3 goalies anymore. It used to be him, Comrie, Levi, and the whole 3-goalie rotation. Now that he knows he's the guy, it's a big difference.
Martin Biron, our guest here on Overdrive. Ilya Samsonov, another quality start last night against the Flyers. The Leafs win 6-2. Samsonov has won 13 of his last 15 starts, Marty. How would you compare Toronto's goaltending? And we talk about Samsonov versus Woll. I want to ask you about Toronto versus teams like Boston and Florida, New York, Carolina, the top teams in the East. How do you think the Samsonov-Woll tandem compares to what the other top teams in the East have?
They're not in the top half, that's for sure. I could argue that the Leafs goaltending, when I look at all the teams, are probably 7th in the top 8 right now. There are in the playoffs. Maybe just the Flyers would be below the Leafs. Carolina, you could argue, but I really feel that Kochetkov and Anderson are a better tandem right now than Samsonov and Woll, just because Woll has only played 3 games since coming back, and it hasn't been the best of games, but I still have to see more out of Joseph Woll. But other than that, the Rangers, Even Tampa, you got Vasilevsky. I know the numbers are not great, but at any moment he can put up just a week's worth of shutouts, and you're like, okay, well, Vasi is back. So I think the Leafs are 7th right now when you look at their goaltending within the 8 teams that are in the playoffs. Could it change? Could they move up a little bit? Maybe, but I put them 7th right now.
Well, where are you at with Samsonov as a whole? I mean, since he's come back from his stint where he was put on waivers and was away for a week and come back, he's 13-3 with a .912 save percentage. Has he fully earned back your trust, you think? And can he be the guy for this team going forward?
It's funny because wins and losses are a goalie stat, but I think they're more of a team stat. Like 13-3, that's fantastic. Goals against average, I think it's 235 in those 16 games. That's great, but that's also the way the team is playing. Save percentage is .912. Well, I think that's 21st or 22nd in the league. So you keep dropping, right? Like goal save above expectation. He's 29th in that time frame. So you're like, okay, is it the team playing fantastic hockey in front of him, or is it Samsonov? I start to think that it's more the team. Not that Samsonov's not played well, but I would kind of see that Joseph Woll, when fully healthy and into a rhythm, may still be the guy in the end that's going to win the number one, job, when you start the playoffs. So, there's still a lot of games left, 17, and a lot can happen, but I have a feeling that Woll will be that guy when it's the first game of the playoffs.
Marty, looking at the standings, we were going over it with MJ. We've been talking about it all afternoon. I know Buffalo's pushing. Detroit's in one right now. Washington's hanging around. New Jersey won last night. Pittsburgh won last night. Finally, I know they got off to Schneid against San Jose, but, Pittsburgh believes, I was listening to what Sid had to say today, and he said it's a big challenge, but they're only 5 points out. What do you make of this race out here in the East? I think it's going to be, pretty interesting heading down to the last game of the season potentially.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting because every week you got to think that some of those teams are going to get hot. Some teams are going to get cold, like Detroit right now. They're going to play each other, right? You're going to see Detroit play the Islanders next week. Teams are going to think, hey, one team's going to get 2. You don't want an overtime. These overtime loser points are going to be a big factor in all of this when these teams start playing against one another. So, I look at the Sabres. They have Detroit tomorrow. They have Detroit again later this year. They have Tampa last game of the season. If you want to believe, if you're Pittsburgh and you want to believe, just look at your schedule. If you're New Jersey, you want to believe, look at your schedule. And there's teams out there and there's games out there you absolutely have to win. That's going to make the difference.
Martin Biron, our guest here on OverDrive, TSN hockey analyst. Austin Matthews scores his 55th goal this season last night, Marty. Between Matthews, McDavid, and Kucherov, which of those 3 do you think is most likely to catch McKinnon as far as the Hart Trophy goes?
It's McDavid. I think if McDavid goes out, and I believe McDavid's going to win the Art Ross. He's going to be the top scorer at the end of the season. And if it wasn't for an injury at the beginning of the season, we'd probably be talking about McDavid being, again, the best player in the world, being the MVP, putting the Oilers on his back. So if he gets to 100 assists, only the 4th player to get to 100 assists would be amazing. So I think that McDavid, for me, would be where the value would be at right now. I know McKinnon is going to, get a lot of votes because of what he's doing in Colorado and, no Landeskog and all the injuries they had in Colorado. But I still think McDavid in the end wins the Art Ross in the Hart.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Where are you at the Vezina? Because I saw the goals expected saved above expectation. Jordan Binnington's name slid in there, quietly, which is an interesting one because I think he wasn't on anybody's bingo card, and he's played really well recently. But if you're choosing today, who's your 1 and maybe 2?
Okay, so Hellebuck is number 1, and I don't think there's anybody close to him right now. It's unfortunate that Jacob Markstrom is injured because I wanted to see if Markstrom could continue to play the way that he was. I would have put Markstrom 2. But now I have to agree with you. Like Jordan Binnington, in my opinion, I mean, it's going to be a battle like Stuart Skinner, Aiden Hill, but I would consider Binnington as the starting goalie for Team Canada next year at the Four Nations. So I think Binnington has earned to be at least a top 3. I think Hellebuck is number 1, and it's not even close.
Marty, any St. Patty's plans down in Buffalo this weekend?
Well, I'll tell you this, guys. I'm walking into a little theater in Buffalo right now. There's a huge charity event for Ryan Miller. He's back in town, and it's a fashion show. It's the old catwalk for charity, and I'm hosting it, but I guess I'm also walking in it. So it may get a little ugly here tonight before St. Patty's Day.
I don't know, Marty. I'm looking at your headshot on TSN2 right now. You are very much a model. You have the Zoolander look going. I don't think you'll have any problem tonight, Marty.
But it also, if you're hosting,
my hair is growing, that's for sure. But it's going to be coming off here in a little bit. We have that charity event that we do every year where I shave my head. So a couple more weeks, and then it will be a buzz cut.
If you're hosting, Marty, are you going to have the line "Hails from Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan"? Isn't that the Slapshot line when they're walking the catwalk?
Yeah, the problem is I don't want anybody to pull their pants down like that guy did in Slapshot, so that may be the problem.
Killer Dave went to the owner, said, "I'm going to pull it out and waggle it." Yeah. You don't want that. You don't want any of that.
And he hears the screams from the crowd, and he's like, "Oh, no, I got to go."
Yeah, I don't think Ryan Miller would appreciate that either. That would probably be a bad idea. Good luck tonight, Marty. We appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you for this.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
That is Martin Biron, TSN hockey analyst.
See, here's the thing, guys. I hope you guys have seen Slapshot.
Absolutely.
I think you're old enough to. Okay, because we've got a problem. Like, I've got a problem, with our production team that I travel with. We got younger guys on there. There's guys that I think Doogie's one of them. Hasn't seen any movies.
Doogie.
Have you seen Slapshot?
There's no way.
Come on. Don't break my heart.
There's no chance.
I actually haven't.
No chance.
Okay, so Doogie is 21, and I'm getting to know Doogie this week because we've been working very closely. I'm just stunned, and I'm in my mid-30s. I'm not that old. He didn't know the band Limp Bizkit. I loved Limp Bizkit growing up. He looked at me like Fred Durst. He's like,
so
never
we should
heard
come
of
in with
him.
Roland next. We're coming with Roland.
Well, no, you asked for a song. How about Break Stuff by Limp Bizkit?
Classic.
Like, you start the guitar on that.
Yes.
You start the next segment with that guitar riff.
Electric.
Because the guitarist is Wesley, I think his name is. He's an unbelievable, but he always dresses up for Limp Bizkit's guitarist. That guy, if you played the start of Break Stuff,
it's a little scary. Like, Noodles, you and I started at TSN Radio around the same time. Again, almost 13 years ago. And I was around Doogie's age then. And now I'm working with Doogie, and it's making me feel very, very old. It's very concerning.
Yeah. Noodles, who do you think currently are the top 3 goaltenders on FanDuel for the Vezina?
Well, Hellebuck would be one. The Demko injury really, takes him out of it. That's what sucks, because I thought he's had a fantastic season. After that, it kind of, I wouldn't say it drops off. Markstrom injury hurts him. I saw last night, Binnington's name because of the goals saved above expectation. Other guys haven't played enough. That's my concern. You got tandem situations. So, who else has the
Georgiev? Is he in there?
Georgiev, he's lower in there, yeah.
He is. The thing is these guys are going to rack up wins, right? Like, we just thought, Marty was talking about, Samsonov and what he's done. He plays on a good team. So you've got, Stuart Skinner. Take a look at his body of work since Edmonton went on that run.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. He's been unbelievable. But I think for a while it was a 2 or 3 kind of horse race, and then everybody else was kind of a distant, second after that. A guy that doesn't get enough love, and I think he's a fantastic goaltender, but he's in a bad situation right now, is Tristan Jarry. The guy's got 6 shutouts and a goal this year. Scored a goal.
Yeah.
For the longest time, he was ahead of Connor Brown. And I think I watched him play the other night. Edmonton beat them 4-0, and I thought he was unbelievable. Like, Edmonton really poured the pressure on them. But, Tristan Jarry is a really good goaltender. He's not going to get, the love because Pittsburgh's, far out of the playoffs or 5 points out. But there's some good goalies that kind of deserve love. But Hellebuyck is, for me, the clear-cut number one.
Yeah. What's the order, Osborne?
Well, he's favored. He's minus 430 to win the Vezina. So that's
Bobrovsky.
Huge favorite. Bobrovsky coming in at number 2 at plus 440. And then, Demko, then Swayman. So they're telling you it's a 3-horse race. But really, I think Hellebuck's run away with this one. But in terms of who could be the runner-up and get some votes.
I will say, the awards this year, not that compelling. I mean, maybe McKinnon could give it up. But I think Tocchet has the Jack Adams pretty much wrapped up. The Norris, I would imagine that Quinn Hughes has that one locked up. McCarr's missed a little bit of time. I don't know what the odds are on that one. But beyond the Hart Trophy, where it was really compelling, and I guess the Art Ross is very much up for grabs still.
Minus 390 on Quinn Hughes. So
I think there is, but you see, with the voting, it's always that last month of the season. Yeah. That's what won it for Taylor Hall that year,
exactly.
Right? And keep in mind, Kucherov rattled off 5 points last night. If Tampa makes the playoffs, he's helped drag. McDavid's got a case for it. I forgot. You're right. Bobrovsky, Swayman, I don't know. He's played a little bit more than Ullmark. Is he going to get to a level where you could feel comfortable that he was the one and you could grab him as a Vezina? That's the only thing. When you're in a tandem and you get a guy who plays 48 games instead of 60, that's a big chunk. But I look at these awards. I mean, is Bedard locked up for your Calder?
Oh, yeah.
He's live. So that 5-point game, it was pretty much over.
It was over even before he even came back. He never was not the favorite. He missed 6 weeks and was still the favorite the entire time on FanDuel. This guy's absurd.
Yeah, wow, minus 2,500 is Bedard. I mean, I can't wait to see what Bedard does next year and maybe some more stability when it comes to his line mates. Of course, Taylor Hall gets early in the year. He's playing with Nick Foligno. Listen, no disrespect to Nick Foligno, Philip Kurashev, guys who he's played a lot of time with, but I would guess that Chicago will try to find a bona fide top-line winger for him to skate alongside for a whole season.
What was those predictions?
They're going to go spend.
That Bedard was going to score, 100 points or 50 goals in his first 3 years?
100 points, I think 40. But I think this season he talked about him scoring 40 and getting either as a point a game or 100 points. I can't remember what it was. But if he was healthy, I don't know. Would he be a 35 goal scorer? What has he got? 20 now?
It would be close.
He's up there.
Yeah, and he's producing a good amount of points.
He's a hell of a player. I still think, and you talked about Tocchet being the lock for Jack Adams. I vote on that too. I have Tocchet, but I had John Tortorella. Philadelphia had no business being near where they are right now as far as where they had projected to be at the start of the season. John Tortorella came out, was that 2 months ago, and said we're going to be making some moves here that may not be popular because they're sticking with the plan. I mean, I think he's done a great job in Philly. Last night, obviously, they stunk. I thought their goalies were awful. That Liljegren goal was awful. That chased him, and rightfully so. That's a wrist shot from the blue line. You can't allow that goal. Good for Liljegren, but that goal stunk.
If Tortorella can get this group in, keep in mind they trade Sean Walker. They fill his spot essentially with Eric Johnson. That's a pretty big downgrade. Ristolainen's been out. Jamie Drysdale is out. So you're missing half your defense. If he's able to find a way to get that team into the playoffs, he might have a pretty compelling case for the Jack Adams Trophy.
Plus 2,500 right now.
Ooh, a little sprinkle team bets, little group wager.
Good.
We could say, Al's brother, you do it on your account on FanDuel. Right. We'll pay it back, right, Noodles?
It's checks in the mail.
Exactly. Don't think we'll be betting on the Toronto Raptors tonight. They are 8.5-point dogs hosting the Orlando Magic. But as Owen, who's in for JP today, pointed out, Gary Trent Jr. back in the lineup. That bodes well for the Raps. We'll tee the game up with CJ Miles, spin you around the NBA on the other side. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and TSN 2. Overdrive is brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Aaron Korolnek, Al's brother, Jamie Noodles McLennan. This song is called Take a Look Around by Limp Bizkit. We couldn't play Break Stuff, Noodles, because there was too much profanity.
There was. Well, just the guitars.
Yeah, we could have done that. Just one of those days where you don't want to wake up And then that's it. That's all we can do.
That's all you can say.
I mean, and then down.
Yeah.
And then you got to, but the guitars just to start is unbelievable.
Yes.
I mean, but I don't know. I get it. Doogie's 21 years old.
21.
But the generations go. But for movies, that's the thing. You should be watching classics out there. Like Slapshot is a classic, even though it's in the 70s and it's, there's some language and some dumb things in there that wouldn't be kosher for today's world. I get that. Like that was so long ago. But it's still a classic of a movie.
Absolutely. And I believe the album Significant Other by Limp Bizkit was the first CD I ever bought. I think it's like 1998 really? Or something. I remember my mom and I went to Future Shop to buy it. Callback for those. Future Shops, that's done, right?
Future Shop, I remember, legitimately just closed up shop randomly one day. Like there was one in the falls, and it just done. One day it was there, one day it was not. It was insane.
Well, we've got CJ Miles on the line, a longtime NBA player, a sharpshooter that we remember from his time with the Toronto Raptors, who host the Orlando Magic tonight down at Scotiabank Arena. Let's bring him into the program. It is CJ Miles. What's up, CJ? How we doing?
I'm good. How are you? How you guys doing?
Excellent. Thank you so much for doing this. And obviously for the Toronto Raptors right now, they're 20 games under 500. The last time they were 20 games under 500 was in 2011. So it's been a dark go here for the Raps. You played in the NBA a long time, CJ. You played on some great teams. You played on some bad teams. When you're kind of just grinding towards the end of the season, how big of a challenge is that for the players to bring the type of energy that you need to do at the top of your game each and every night?
It's a challenge, especially for younger guys, because they already have they already have habits they're trying to build. And I think they're looking at it like, sometimes you can look at it like, I'm going to get my numbers and go into my summer vacation and just try to get ready for next year, right? But I think there's things you got to approach this game, like I said before, with the habits you're trying to build. You don't want those to slip away. You want to keep those habits and go into the summer with confidence in those habits.
CJ, what are your impressions of Darko's body of work so far in a rebuilding team of the young team?
I like Darko from the second they hired him, from the things when I was doing the podcast. So the things he said, the things he was doing. I think he's got a really good feel for his players and what he wants to do with his players. I think the situation's been up and down. There's been some things, hasn't been the easiest, but I think he is prepared to do the work that needs to be done to build this team.
I want to get your thoughts on Gradey Dick here, because he was brought in to be, a 3-point specialist, and he can really shoot the ball. He was a first-round pick for the Raptors, and the season didn't start off all too well for him. But recently, he's been shooting the ball a lot better with the added minutes, with all the turnover. Like, how much do you think just getting those minutes and getting those extra shot opportunities has helped him kind of blossom in the second half of the season?
That's 100% what it is. It's getting the minutes and knowing you're going to get the minutes. I remember being his age, and when I came in, that uncertainty when you're first trying to figure yourself out, and there's already a lot you don't know. So then having to deal with the fact that you don't even know if you're going to get in the game or not, too. So you're preparing and doing certain things. So I think him knowing he's going to play and him knowing the type of sets they're running for him and the type of plays that are being made on the floor, it's helped him out tremendously. It's just familiarity.
There's some guys who are calling Gradey Dick the right-handed CJ Miles. Do you appreciate that comparison?
I appreciate being thought of for sure, but he's got the potential to do much, much better things than I did.
CJ Miles, our guest, former NBA guard. You know him from his time with the Toronto Raptors. So the earlier part of your career, you played a number of seasons in Utah. Some were good years, some were bad. And we're seeing a lot of guys with the Toronto Raptors get opportunities right now that perhaps no one really expected them to get to, considering the players the Raptors had on their roster to start the year. It looks dramatically different. What do you recall about kind of playing out the string and maybe getting opportunities, you and your teammates, in games that don't really have any significance in the standings?
I always looked at it as a chance for me to get better and a chance to be to show what I had. I never thought about the standings in those situations because the main focus was for me to get better and for us to get better and for us to figure each other out because you got to be able to see through that. Like, I know that we're building for something more than right now. I know where we are right now, but I know where we want to be. And if I play where we are right now, if I don't see us as what we want to be, then we'll never get there.
CJ, who's your MVP of the league right now?
Shy.
Oh, all right. Look at you.
Yeah.
Appealing to the Canadian audience. You're a wise man, CJ.
Not even that. Not even that. I mean, that helps me, obviously, yes. But I love his game. They're first in the West right now. What, he's averaging 31, 5, and 6, right? 10 of the last 11 home games, some of the things they've done that he's been doing. But this year, it really transferring because what did they finish last year in the West? 10th, 8th, 10th?
Yeah.
Something like that, right? Yeah, so now
it's been amazing.
To go from 10 to 1 in a season, I think that screams MVP to me more than the numbers, right? Like, he obviously is the leader of the team. He's been scoring, so it's definitely more than the scoring at this point.
CJ, watching Victor Wembanyama night after night, I mean, it just blows my mind. 7'5", the guy can shoot threes, block shots as well, if not better than anybody else in the NBA. Through your career, do you remember one guy who you were on the court with and you watched them play? You're like, what the hell is that? Like, how did you do that? Like, whether it was athleticism or a certain skill set that they had that you just hadn't seen before?
I mean, there were 3 guys that really blew my mind. Maybe 4, but first was young Derrick Rose. Obviously LeBron James, the first time I got on the floor with him, but then also AK-47, Andre Korolnek.
Oh, my namesake.
When I got to Utah, him and Mimito Core also. But seeing those guys at the size they were and the skill set they had, I had never seen that. I was coming out of high school, so I'd never seen guys that size move and shoot it and pass it and do the things they did in person. So those guys I named definitely were guys that just kind of, blew my mind as far as like, especially imagination-wise for basketball, right? It made me happy because it gave me more ideas of things that you could try and do on the floor. They raised the limits, right? And then just to speak on Wembanyama, I'm going to see him for the first time in person here when Phoenix comes to San Antonio, but watching them I don't know what you do with that. I don't know. Like, I don't know the ground that's covered, the skill set. He's shooting step back, side back threes also. Like the rim protection alone was enough to make him great, right? Like, that was enough. So now you add everything on top of that.
Oh, it's so much fun to watch, too, because, like, the way he can finish around the rim, sometimes you're like, nobody else in the history of the sport would have been able to dunk that except this freak with these 8 feet long arms. I mean, it's just absolutely crazy to watch.
What tippy toes?
It's nuts. It's like
dunked it on the ground.
Oh, it's just preposterous. It's like a Fisher Price net where you're a kid, you're just dunking on it 100%. Against your little brother. But what do you think it looks like 3-5 years down the road with Wembanyama? Like, how certain are you that we're going to be calling him the best player in the NBA before long?
I definitely think there's a chance, there's potential to. I think you have to see the response to people having a year of seeing him, right? Like, that's always the real challenge. It's like, all right, you snuck up. They didn't sneak up on anybody at that size, but nobody knew what they were really going to see, right? They knew he was tall. They knew he was long. They knew he had a skill set. They saw a video, but, like, seeing it a bunch of nights in a row for a season and seeing the things he's done, now you got film on him to break him down, see what his weaknesses are, see what his real strengths are, his real tendencies. Now, when people are really prepared for him, see how he responds is what changes everything. Because that's what all the greats do, right? They have the breakout, they explode, like the people I named, LeBron and Derrick Rose, and then everybody comes back and they're ready for them. The defenses are made for them, and they still dominate the game. Now it's like, okay, Now, heaven's a playground, right? Now I'm just going to do whatever I want because you're going to give up because you can't stop me.
the Raptors have the Orlando Magic in town tonight. We'll see Paolo Banchero, a very talented young player as well, so it'll be fun. Hopefully the Raps are able to kind of get it back on the rails here because it has been quite ugly of late, no doubt. CJ, great to connect with you as always. Thank you so much for the time. Have a great weekend.
Man, thank you guys for reaching out. Thank you.
Thank you. That is CJ Miles, who was actually in this very studio maybe 5 years ago, and he took on Carlo Koliakovo in a Fisher-Price three-point shooting contest.
With the net over there?
With the net over there.
Oh,
and
my goodness.
Carlo goes out and shoots 4 for 5. And he's feeling himself. He's like, oh, yeah, CJ can't match me. What do you think CJ Miles ended up shooting?
I would imagine
10 for 10.
5 for 5. I mean, it was just like
went
flick,
10 for 10.
Flick, wet, wet, wet. And obviously he beat Carlo. And that was devastating to Koliakovo's mindset all these years later. So
I mean, the guy got paid millions of dollars to just put a ball in a hoop. He's pretty good at it.
To do that.
So
yeah, an unbelievable shooter was CJ Miles. And he was part of those Raptors teams kind of on the up and up, right? Like 2016, 2017.
That original bench mob. Like he was part of that original bench mob here in Toronto, which, you know, you look at the young players that the Raptors have, and we'll get another chance to get a good look at them tonight. You know, there's a chance that some of these players could, you know, formulate a bench mob for the next couple of years. Like they've gone out and got a couple of young guys. I think Gradey Dick could be part of this, you know, solution going forward. You know, we'll see what we get out of, you know, like a Nawara and potentially this Obaji they seem to be quite high on. I'll be curious to see what these guys could do down the stretch and see if they can, you know, prove, hey, we can get some minutes here. Like that was something that Nick Nurse never ever gave anybody, was any minutes if you weren't a starter. But maybe some of these kids can prove that they deserve it.
Well, I mean, I think it's clearly tank mode for the Raps here down the stretch, right?
Yes.
Like they're looking to get that 6th spot, increase their chances at keeping their draft pick this year. And the way it's trending, like they are big dogs almost every game they play.
Lean. It's
very
lean
lean.
right now.
It is very much 2015-16 Toronto Maple Leafs vibes right now. Shout out to Frank Corrado, Peter Holland, Mark Arcabello, Jonathan Bernier, amongst others. Like that's the type of business we're dealing with the Toronto Raptors. So I'm actually going next week to see Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and the OKC Thunder in town. Not a lot of focus on the Raps, but hopefully SGA tears it up. Should be a lot of fun to watch
Chet
that.
Holmgren, too. He's a fun player. Like, there's a lot of focus on Victor Wembanyama, but, like, Chet Holmgren is also a really young, talented big. Like, I watched him play a game against, I think they're playing Golden State, and this guy just hit a buzzer-beating 3 to take it to overtime. He ended up with, I think, like 36 points or something in the game, ended up with, like, 14 rebounds and 5 blocks. It was unbelievable what this guy was able to do.
For Al's brother high school numbers right there.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Just be a dominant force in the paint?
Yeah, on a Fisher's Price net,
nice.
maybe.
That's what I like to hear. Well, I'm the 9th man on the Thornley Thunder in grade 9, so not a lot of impressive numbers from yours truly. The only real athlete in the middle of the screen there, Jamie McLennan. We'll be back to wrap things up for a very busy Friday afternoon. We've got my best bets powered by FanDuel as well. Overdrive continues. All right, it's our final segment of Overdrive on this Friday afternoon. And if you're not watching on TSN2, you're missing Al's brother rocking one of the most spectacular, obnoxious. Yeah, you could have gotten that way too, Niddles. Pieces of clothing. I'm looking at some of the text on it.
Yeah,
we be jamming, we be boozing,
we be drumming,
we be drumming.
I don't know.
Yeah, let's make sure we tweet out a picture of what this looks like for the audience as well, Doogie, for the podcast listeners and those in their cars. But Al's brother,
this is my cruise attire for St. Patrick's Day. So I was like, let's bring it in. A little St. Patty's Day cruise attire.
You notice, Noodles, he put the shirt on over his dress shirt that he was wearing prior. Probably a poor choice.
Wow.
I know, but you need to get it. You need to get it on TV. And I mean, it is just, it's glorious. But why I said it was obnoxious is you're going on holiday and everyone else is coming back to work. So it's like, everyone's going to be grinding next week and pissed off, and you're going to be, drinking tequila
just
down by the shore type of thing.
Nonstop.
So.
Oh yeah. How many cruises in the last calendar year have you been up to?
An embarrassing amount.
Excuse me. Like, what are we talking about? Not double digits, are we?
No, not double digits, but comfortably probably in a calendar year.
If you can't remember, it's a lot.
Fourth, fifth,
sixth, maybe my sixth. Because
Al's brother is single-handedly just catapulting Royal Caribbean shares by himself.
But
like a stock.
on MSC this time.
Yeah. Oh, excuse me.
But you hear about it though, like the cruise ship that gets like everybody gets the stomach virus, and like that's the thing that scares me because it's a giant petri dish. You're just out on the water, and it's just everybody's drinking the same water. And
you wouldn't take the family on a cruise, Noodles?
You've been on.
I did. We did once. We did, and it was actually outstanding.
They're pretty good. Like when it comes to washing your hands, like they are on you. They come up to you like washy. Make sure you wash your hands.
Washy.
They are very on top of it. Like because they know once one person gets sick, the whole boat.
It's done. It's kind of like TSN 1050 with
exactly.
JP.
It's like this.
I can feel it as the show has been progressing. I'm like, oh boy, I gotta make sure I get to sleep early tonight.
Well, you got a big day tomorrow.
I do. Well, we'll see. We'll see how I fare. Because I need to win some wagers, and here's how I'm going to do it. Because time now for today's Best Bets powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. 2 hockey games tonight. The Jets and the Ducks. Oof. The Jets on the puck line, minus a goal and a half. Tyler Toffoli, 3 or more shots on goal. We're going to pair that with the late game. The Kings and the Blackhawks, over 5.5 goals in that game. Connor Bedard, 3 or more shots on goal. If all 4 of those bets hit, plus 538, you could pick up a couple of brewskis on St. Paddy's Day over the weekend, courtesy of yours truly. Today's best bets are powered by FanDuel. FanDuel's goal in the first 10 minutes is the most electric bet in hockey. What's the plan this weekend, Noodles? You have a game in the afternoon tomorrow, correct?
Yeah, fly back, but then it's back-to-back. I'm in Ottawa on Sunday, against Carolina. Then the show Monday and fly to Boston that night because I game Tuesday and fly back Wednesday morning, and you got the show Wednesday. So, yeah, it's a busy schedule, busy time of the schedule right now, and Ottawa's playing a lot. So, yeah, the Islanders tomorrow and fly right home.
But you do have the night in New York City tonight. I imagine you're not going to bed after this radio program is over.
I might. I was up early. I mean, it's. I used to live here several times, so I know the city well. I might get some food brought in from my favorite spot. That's what it is. You need New York pizza. Yeah, you need some pasta from Lavo. Maybe there's some good spots. There's a little bar called Johnny's Bar in the Village. It's a tiny little bar. If I am going to go for a drink, I'll try that, but I don't think I will. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it unfolds.
You never know. You told the story on Wednesday when Struddy was on, when you lived in New York and he came to stay with you in your condo, and he was sweating through the couch. fake leather couch. So
we were younger back then, and he didn't tell the story that I came down with meningitis after that trip too. So that was, and spent a month in the hospital. So that was I think he did it to me. Who knows, that guy?
Well, you got the Masterton out of it, so
I did. He enjoys his life though. His nickname used to be the Night Train for a reason. I'll tell you that.
That is a nickname. That's as good as it gets. Almost as good as Al's brother. Yeah. Very close. Al's brother, safe travels.
Thank you.
Hopefully you have a great time, and hopefully that shirt is worn loud and proud all weekend long for St. Patrick's Day. Noodles, have a fantastic weekend, and I want to thank our audience for tolerating me for the last 5 days.
Good stuff, buddy.
Way. Noodles, you, Hayes, and O back at it at
4 p.m.
We'll chat then.